Did you ever have one of those weeks when you feel like the whole world is against you? And then you realize, maybe it's me against myself. Welcome to my short, not too sweet, January and February wrap-up. Hello, Booktube. I'm Marilyn, Maya, the baby boomer booktuber, and welcome to my channel if you're new. I've had a few new subscribers and I appreciate everyone who watches me. This has been not a great week for me. It started out trying to get a passport photo, and I went to CVS and I took a photo that really depressed me. It just was horrible, and I know passport photos aren't supposed to be, they're notoriously horrible, but it affected me emotionally. So for the rest of the week I was running around trying to find a way of making a better picture, and of course I ended up hurting my back because I walked so many miles, and I started getting anxiety because I had to go out every day because I had to renew my passport. Anyway, this whole week has been full of anxiety, depression, self-hatred, and then I got the photo. It all turned out well. It's not only because of the photo. I say it started with the photo, but it kind of ended with me getting very anxious about the whole passport, fiasco, and having to renew my passport, and realizing that most of the acceptance centers in Hawaii have closed because of the pandemic. So they were making appointments like 3 months down the road. Anyway, I finally got my passport application sent off, but it took a toll on me, and it took a toll on my reading as well. However, there were some good parts to my reading. Let me talk about the books that didn't work for me. And some of them I talked about before. And one was Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata, about a woman who perhaps has autism. And I gave this book 3 stars, but as I'm thinking about it, I'm sort of making it 2.5 because I didn't like the way that autism or just being different in some way was represented in this book. And it also had this kind of robotic kind of language that I didn't like, but I did read it all the way. So that's Convenience Store Woman. Now to A Month in the Country, and Lindy of Magpie Reads, I think her new channel is, said that she had, a couple of years ago, she read this book with Sean the Book Maniac, and I wasn't in a good headspace to read it. I started it multiple times, and I think the problem was that the language, I knew it was a good book. I can tell by the language and the story and the pathos and the comedy that I would like this book if I buddy read it with someone. So if someone, this is a library book, and if somebody wants to buddy read it with me and help me out with some of the language, I'd really appreciate it. So I know I would like this. It's by J.L. Carr, and it says it's a poetic novel. Tom Birkin, a veteran of the Great War. So it has a lot of, like I said, pathos in it, and about, he comes home with shrapnel in his leg, and he has a broken marriage, and he goes to Yorkshire Village to fix a painting, or to uncover a painting in a church, a mural, I think it is. And I haven't got any further than that, but I just feel that I'll like it at a different time in my life. The next book I don't have with me. It's going to be here, and it's The Last Bookshop in London by Madeline Martin, and I talked about it the last time. I gave it 3 stars. I'm still keeping it to 3 stars. What I forgot to say about it, I said it was a well-researched book about the Blitz and about 2 women who come to London sort of at the wrong time, and the main protagonist starts working at what will be the last bookshop in London. It's a historical fiction about the Blitz, very well researched, but I had a few problems with it. One of the problems that I didn't mention the last time is that it's spoilery to a few books, and they're The Count of Monte Cristo, Middlemarch, and Jane Eyre. And if the main character of Middlemarch is named Dorothea, let me know, because I didn't read any further than that, and I said, no, don't tell me anything, because I plan to read Middlemarch this year. I think that it's still a 3-star read for me. Okay, then it's also, I wanted to mention that The Last Bookshop in London is also part of Catherine, of Taking Tea with Catherine's reading books about books, which I didn't mention the last time, and that's why I read it. And she also has a library month this month, and Convenience Store Woman, and this book that I didn't read all the way, Arthur Frommer's Europe, but I talked about, were also taken out of the library, as well as A Month in the Country. So I really respect and have respected libraries my entire life. So I think this is a wonderful month to be a patron at your local library, because it was a lifesaver for me. Okay, now let's get back into some books that I loved. I loved. I also attempted a few books that I just was too depressed to read. So I won't talk about them. There was one good book that I read in January with Nikki from Red Dot Reads, Ishiguro's Remains of the Day, and I talked about that in my last video, and I really enjoyed that. So what was my 5-star read? There was only one, but it was a good one. Jane and Prudence by Barbara Pym. So what is this about? These are 2 friends who, one is older than the other, and they met in Oxford while the older woman was, and I'm going to try to get her name here, of course, it had to be Jane, it was Jane, and she was sort of mentoring Prudence, who's younger than her, and she's married to a vicar. So I had a grin on my face the whole time I read this. I love this book so much. I've read a few Barbara Pyms, and I thought that the Quartet in Autumn would be my favorite, but so far this is my favorite. So it's really not about anything, and I like books that are character driven. So it's about life in a British village in the 50s, a friendship between 2 women, one a spinster, if you can call a woman of less than, I think she's 30, a spinster. I guess they did in those days. In fact, my mother told me when she got married, she was like 32. She was called an old maid, as they called them or she was in danger of being called an old maid, as they called them in New York. Spinster, I guess, was in Great Britain. So they have a friendship, and it's a slice of life about 10 years after the war, and all the people and situations that we come across in daily life. And you know, there's no perfect person here. I love that. Even the worst person, who I won't name, turned out to have a good side. And so she writes with subtlety, and she writes with humor, and very dry, like a dry glass of champagne, but very witty, almost like a Jane Austen and I read this in, somebody said in Goodreads, with a touch of Lucille Ball. And I think that really, it really nails it. You know what I really liked it? Every secondary character was distinct. And I think a lot of authors have a hard time with secondary characters. I don't understand too much about the high church and the low church, but she goes into that in most of her books. And the church is always a big part. So Jane is moving to a new church. Her husband got a job in a new place in the country. And Jane, what a wonderful character. I'm wondering if she fashioned that again about herself. She's sort of like very scatterbrained in a lot of ways, and not the perfect vicar's wife, according to everyone, even herself. But you love her so much. Maybe Prudence is not as well drawn as Sean wrote in his Goodreads review, but I found her delightful too, because she was the kind of woman that we all know, even to this day, who always finds the wrong guy. And Jane wants to get her married and settled down, and that's sort of the crux of the book. Yeah, so I love this book so much. I think that I'm going to be reading I know I'm going to be reading every Barbara Pym book, even biographies about her. And this is a reread for sure. So it was my one saving grace of the month, and it was worth all of what I had to put up with in my real life, or I should say, yeah, it is my real life, because I call my reading life not my real life. It's sort of my escapism life, so which I always turn to. Now we come to a book that I rated 2 stars on Goodreads, but actually I don't really want to give it a star, not because it was bad, but because it was really unusual. And I got this book out of the library, which kind of surprised me, and the cover is atrocious. It just has the same thing, Bear, a novel by Marian, Engel. I looked on Goodreads to see what other people thought after I read it, and I think I took this book too seriously. Maybe it was meant to be seriously, but I just loved what Robin from Goodreads had to say on her review. She said, "Oh, 1976. Oh, Canada. Oh, living in the wilderness. Oh, sex with a bear." Did I just say that? Yep. And another, Julie, said, "What happens in Canada stays in Canada, eh?" And she said, "What is it with you guys up there? Is it the solitude? The aurora borealis? The cold?" Maybe I did take this too seriously, but here's what I have to say about Bear. So I wrote a very long Goodreads review, starting with, what did I think? It's not Beauty and the Beast, that's for sure. And you know, it's not that I didn't appreciate what some of the author was trying to say. You know, if it was told in a fable sort of way, she goes into colonialism, feminism, loneliness. In fact, the book is full of loneliness, and all those 3 things. And even because of the delightful themes in this book, vivid scenes, you know, the bestiality turned me off. And let me tell you why. You know, I'm not a prude in any sense of the word, you know, but I am an animal lover. You know, I think the bear was cruelly used in this book. You know, some would say it's a fable, but I'm not buying it, because this book was very realistic in every way. So it's about a librarian. I don't know if she's a librarian. She's more of a research librarian. And so the premise is that her employer, who turns out there's more to this book than just that he's an employer. He's called the director. He sends her to an island in northern Ontario where she enters into a sexual relationship with a bear. Yes, I said it, a bear. And the bear was not a man in disguise like Beauty and the Beast. It's a real bear, tied up, and no one ever tells her about it. So maybe that's the fable part of it. So we learn more about the woman, you know, as the story goes on. And it's written very well, very poetically. You know, she's lonely. A lot of men used her. We find out as the story goes on, and I don't want to be spoilery, but she has some issues with drinking, with having men having used her sexually. You know, one thing I disliked was that the author used the protagonist's drinking problem to, you know, cover up any improprieties that she might have had, that she did have with the bear, and I didn't like that. I thought it was lazy. Okay, so she loves the bear. The bear is indifferent. Or is he? You know, toward the end of the book, and this is not a spoiler, she says she always goes too far with everything. And she goes into how, you know, when she broke up with one of her boyfriends, she threw rocks at the house. I really, that part of it really helped me understand her, because I'm a person who goes too far. People might say, when I'm hard-headed, like when I wanted that picture to be a decent picture, I went too far and I ended up hurting myself, which I think she does, and she does. And I won't go into that part because that is a spoiler. I just couldn't forgive her actions. You know, I understand that she's using the bear as, you know, if she ends up saying it, that now she's strong, stronger than man, because a man can't get this close to a bear. A man only can kill a bear or misuse a bear or see it as a symbol. But she somehow, because she has sex with the bear, is stronger than men. So that's the feminism part of this. But I couldn't, I don't know, the ending was pat, I said, and more or less expected. Of course, there's content warnings all over this book. I don't even know how it got out of Canada, to be honest. It was written in the late 70s. You know, this book, you know, she says she goes too far. I think this book went too far for me. But she's a wonderful writer. And if it had been told in a fable, I think I would have been able to accept it. But the sex was so graphic, you know, that you couldn't misunderstand that this was really sex, and this was really a sex between a woman and a bear. So yeah, you know, I didn't like that, because to me the bear didn't have a choice. It didn't seem, you know, she invited him into our bedroom, you know. I can't believe I'm saying this. But yeah, so I didn't like bear. I mean, I understand that what the author was trying to say in the late 70s, that but no, I don't believe animals have a choice to enter into relationships like that with people. I don't think so. I felt sorry for the bear in many ways, not for the woman. Anyway, I am reading, even though it's slumpy kind of 2 months, I did find, beside Jane and Prudence, a book, an unexpected book of an author I've never read, about Georgette Heyer. It's called Envious, Casca. And at first I said, okay, Georgette Heyer, she's a romance writer, I thought. I heard of her. But she also wrote mystery books. And when I first picked this up, it took me a few pages, more than maybe 20 pages to get into it. But that was me, that wasn't the book. And also I thought, this is kind of long for a mystery. But let me tell you, this is a wonderful writer. She's entertaining. She made me laugh. It's droll. It's set in the 30s, and I'm enjoying it a lot. So I'm glad to end this January, February, not too sweet wrap up on a good note. And I'm back to normal. What I was going to do this week, I have a big book haul. It's a mail haul, but there's no way I can carry all those books right now. I'm in pain right now. So I'm gonna save that for next week. And I hope that all of you don't go too far with things, and love yourself, because no matter what you look like or who you are or how much you weigh, it's all good. It's all good. And we have to believe that no matter what kind of tapes that we were given as a child, we have to, love ourselves. And I'm trying. So until we meet the next time, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell and like and comment. I really appreciate all of you. And until the next time, I bid you aloha.